Okay, looks like we're up and live. We've had a couple of internet connections here. It's Coach Chris here from Lighthouse Leadership, Psychology and Training. Great to be with you this morning. It is day six. Tip number 6 for our boundaries program. For those of you that have been following along, we've been looking at lots of relational leadership skills to do with boundaries. And over these 2 weeks, while we run our boundaries course here on the Sunshine Coast, we're posting live tips every day for how to grow and maintain really good boundaries. And I'm about to go out for a ride. I've got the bike ready, got the helmet ready, got the kit on. It's pretty cold here, so I got the arms on, got the legs on. But time to go out for a ride, and there's a few things that I always take when I go for a ride, and I just wanted to show that to you. I got this little pack here that I carry, and in there I've got a spare tube, I've got some tire levers, I got $20 in case I get stuck or a coffee's necessary, and a couple of other tools as well. And so I just stick that in the back here so that I can carry that with me where I go. See, if I break down, like, I'm responsible. I gotta sort myself out. I gotta make sure that I got everything I need. And we were speaking yesterday about one definition of boundaries is to look at resources, that I'm in charge of allocation of my resources. Now, the person that I'm most in charge of is me. And so today I want to speak about ownership. And so when it comes to boundaries, it's really important to understand the concept of ownership and responsibility. So let's take an example of a house. Let's say that you own a house, but let's say that you don't ever tie it up, you don't ever mow the yard, you don't take any care of it. Well, then you have ownership, but you're not demonstrating responsibility. Now, there's a bunch of things with boundaries that you actually have ownership over, and I want to show you some of those things. And so here's one of them here. So the first one is your limits. They're the actual boundaries that you're going to set. So that you own those. You're setting those. You actually have some ownership over the level of trust that you're going to offer other people. Yeah, you get to choose this, but you own it. You get to own your thoughts, and you get to own your values. You get to own all of your talents. So when you come into a relationship, you've got talents, the other person's got talents. They own theirs, you own yours, and you get to choose when and where you're going to use them. You have ownership over your beliefs. Yeah, you own those. They're what you think. You own them. Of course, you're allowed to change them as you go, and we all change them as we learn more, don't we? You have ownership over your feelings. Yeah, this is a big one, because we know that in lots of boundary situations where there's boundary conflict, big feelings come up. And you also own your behavior. So they're the things that you own, some of the things that you own. So when you go into a boundary situation where you've got to set some boundaries with some people, or some things are going well or they're not going well, you actually have to, just like I'm carrying my kit for my bike, you actually have to carry all of those. They're yours. You own them. Okay, so, and I want to focus on your behavior and your feelings. So if you own them, but are you taking responsibility for them? And so these can be two different things. Now, sometimes we don't own our feelings and we want somebody else to be responsible for them. And so that's when unhealthy boundaries really happen. So healthy boundaries are when you make decisions about what you're going to do with your behavior and your feelings. And so this is our key point, our key tip today is to be in charge of your feelings. If you want to set good boundaries with people, in your relationships with people, remember the boundary is what you're choosing to do, then you have to get better at how you deal with your feelings. Now, the kinds of things that come against your feelings and give us really strong feelings, strong emotional responses when we come to boundaries, are when you get offended, when there's any fear, and when there's any blame. And so these three are really big issues when it comes to boundaries. And so you actually going through the process of not holding of offense, of letting go of judgment, and not blaming are really important, because if you don't do those things, then you're not really being responsible for your behavior and your feelings. And so if you just keep running away, let your emotions run away with you, and you're just saying, oh, it's all the other person's fault that I feel like this. It's the other person's fault that they just got it all wrong, and I just can't handle that. If you keep blaming somebody else and judging the other person, then all of your behavior and your emotions are not actually yours. You're not taking responsibility for what's yours. Now, this is one of the most challenging areas in boundaries. Tonight at the Boundaries course at Sunshine Coast, here, if you want to come along at Flame Tree starting at 6:30, be great to have you there. We're going to investigate this a little bit more, but my tip for you today, boundary tip number 6, is be in control of your behavior and your feelings. And that's your responsibility. You own them, they're yours, and you need to take responsibility for them. So this is Coach Chris from Lighthouse Leadership, Psychology and Training. It's been great sharing these tips with you, and we have a whole other week of tips to go yet, so can't wait to share those with you on how to make healthy boundaries to help your relational leadership. So great to be in touch with you. Hopefully we'll see a bunch of you tonight, and for those that you who won't be there, love you to like, to comment, to give me some feedback on these videos. How are they helping you? And if you can share them with people who you know need to grow healthy boundaries. So this is Coach Chris signing off, and we'll be in touch again tomorrow.